There. How is everyone today? Well, today I wanted to tap into something that has been in the environment for a really, really long time, and that's anxiety and stress and tension. More so, anxiety. If you know what it is to live with anxiety every day, you're going to definitely benefit from today's video. If you've had anxiety on and off and you really don't know where it comes from, you're going to benefit from today's information. But anxiety, if you know what anxiety is, it can be completely debilitating, right? It can keep you home and antisocial. You may not even want to drive your car. You may need to be one of those people that get on the road because you need to go somewhere, but you have to pull off the road for a minute because something is setting you off. There's a lot of anxiety and anxiousness to be on the road with tons of cars. There's so many levels of anxiety, and there are so many triggers. Obviously, a lot of triggers to really debilitating anxiety where you have to be medicated is, external traumas, serious life traumas and events that have triggered um, this state of mind in your being. And so those are very real. But what if you never really have too many of those traumas? What if you're just going about your life and you have hormonal shifts or shifts in age and shifts in cycles or shifts in reproduction? Maybe you had a baby and all of a sudden a year later postpartum you're dealing with anxiety that you've never had before. And it's not anxiety and worry about your child, it's maybe anxiety to do things. This is debilitating anxiety that I'm talking about. Maybe you are at a certain age where your cycles are shifting and you are going into menopause, and all of a sudden in life you have this anxiety. You're anxious to do things, you get nervous to do things, you are having hot flashes and sweats, you're gaining weight, you're binging, and all of this is having this feeling of anxiety and anxiousness in your life that you've never had before, right? And this can be debilitating. And so, one of the stigmas with anxiety is that, you know, something's wrong with you, something's mentally wrong with you, that you're mentally weak. And that's simply not true. So, today I'm going to tap into three of the top hormonal imbalances that actually contribute to certain levels of anxiety, and that when you get them balanced, you can live peacefully and you can manage your moods and really live in a state of harmony. Okay? And so, one of the main problems that when we talk about anxiety and other mental health issues is that this stigma. And the first place you go to is to your doctor to talk about, I'm not feeling well. I have anxiety. I don't know what to do. I'm depressed, on and off. And so, unfortunately, Western medical doctors really don't know too much what to say other than maybe go to a therapist, go to a psychiatrist, or in the end, get on medication. If your anxiety is so debilitating, there's a lot of people on medication. The Lexapro, Xanax, Wellbutrin are one of the top, or some of the top prescription medications out there. Even this year, even more so. But you don't want to be on medication, right? You really don't feel that you need to be medicated. And if you are on medication, how are you feeling? Most of these medications, actually, their side effects are anxiety, depression, insomnia, increased suicide tendencies. And so this is the complete opposite of where you want to be, right? So the Western approach is not going to help you because, of course, it can get you by your day to day, but it's a band aid approach. And in the end, it is causing other problems in your organ systems that eventually you're going to need more medication for, or it's going to be a domino effect of medication after medication without solving the underlying problems that are building, right? And so, that's one of the problems with not addressing the root causes, and that's what usually happens. So women that usually end up working with me have already gone down this route, and one of their goals is to get off this medication because they don't feel good on it. They don't feel like themselves. And yeah, the anxiety is still crippling if they are not on the meds. So if that's one of your goals, then this is what you can really look to as a holistic method. We really got to look at where your progesterone levels are. Usually, low progesterone levels result in anxiety, and this is really heightened the week before your period, or even during menopause when the hormones are shifting and they're actually the progesterone is levels are decreasing. And so low progesterone is a very serious problem, and most of it is obviously you're estrogen dominant. If you're already dealing with a known hormonal imbalance, you're estrogen dominant. So your progesterone is always going to be lower than estrogen relative. And so you have to incorporate certain lifestyle techniques and herbs and supplements and nutrition to really increase those progesterone levels naturally, which you definitely can without medication. But low progesterone is definitely one of the main causes of hormonal anxiety, especially if you are shifting during cycles. If you're dealing with low fertility or infertility or challenges with that, definitely low progesterone could be one of those contributing factors, as well as, not getting the result you want leads to more anxiety and depression, right? And so one of the problems when you hear that you have low progesterone is Western doctors say, oh, no problem, let's just try birth control pills or hormone replacement therapy or bioidenticals, which are not natural and they are not like taking an herb. They are still synthetic. And so in Western medicine, they're gonna want to give you higher progesterone with birth control or hormone replacement or any of those synthetics. And that's simply not going to cut it. It might do good in the first couple months where you're balanced, but eventually there's going to be stagnation in other organs, like especially your liver, where your hormones break down these toxins, and break down hormones. And so it's not addressing the root cause, it's only making things worse. So try and stay away from, that medication. That's not a holistic route. The other thing is, that other people do that think that they're naturally boosting their progesterone level is creams, like yam cream or progesterone cream. That is synthetic. There's nothing natural about it. It's made in the lab. And again, just like synthetic medication, it's on your skin. Your liver is going to absorb that. It's going to get in your bloodstream. It's got to break it down. There's going to be eventual side effects and stagnation, and it's causing more problems in the long run, even though you may be getting short-term effects or short-term results. In the long run, it's not really contributing to your overall wellness. It's going to cause some deeper problems down the line, which you might see in other symptoms. Okay. And so another reason hormonally that really triggers anxiety is high levels of cortisol. And when you have high levels of cortisol, that will contribute to lower levels of progesterone. So they're hand in hand, right? But we're all on fight or flight at some point of the day, some point of the week, some point of the month. There is usually some kind of stress stimulation. If you are always amped up and always trying to do things and barely sleeping because you have too many things to do, you have too much stress, this is all cortisol pumping through your body. Cortisol is a hormone. It is a stress hormone. The more cortisol, the more fight or flight you're in, the less progesterone. And, your liver also has to break cortisol down. So what happens? You get stagnant and the progesterone decreases. Nature's Xanax, which is progesterone, is low. So you have heightened levels of anxiety. And so you really need to address your cortisol levels. And there are many reasons why, aside from external stresses, that affect your cortisol levels. So those really need to be looked at. In the women in my programs, in the women I work with, we really understand how important and address what triggers cortisol so we can get those out of the body and really start to acknowledge how cortisol really runs the show in a lot of things, which is the third thing I'm going to mention hormonally, is what can really tip you off and trigger anxiety is your insulin levels. Your insulin is a hormone. Your blood sugar levels can really trigger how your cortisol is balanced. And remember, if cortisol is high, progesterone is going to be low. So you see how it all kind of fits together. So there are a lot of hormonal imbalances, but these are the top ones you need to manage to address mild cases of anxiety and even intense cases of anxiety. Because when you really tap into all of these imbalances and you look at it holistically, it's all connected. And once you start making changes and shifts in one, the other hormones will start to fall in line, and your body will follow the lead. So insulin, if you're skipping meals, if you're eating too much saturated fat, too much animal protein, and too much animal fat, these all really boost your insulin levels. I know that, you've probably been told it's all carbs, potatoes, white rice, pasta, all of that increases your insulin levels. And so you have to go to a keto friendly or a high protein meal to counter your insulin levels and to lose weight and feel better and ease depression. That might work in the short term, but in the long run, once the body really figures out what has gone on, there's going to be a lot of shifts, and insulin is always at the forefront of whether you're gaining weight, whether you are holding on to cortisol, whether your liver is breaking all of these hormones down and filtering out good levels of blood and energy that you need throughout the body so that you can be stable and have mental peace. Okay, and so when your blood sugar is off, it's usually going to be followed by cortisol, the stress hormone, going high. Insulin's high, cortisol's high, progesterone will be low. So it's a circle that we really address in a holistic nature, right? And so you won't be able to address this with birth control pills, hormone replacement, or progesterone creams or other creams. And you may, if you're a do-it-yourself type person, you may not even address it by just taking supplements. You may read that there's a ton of supplements for stress and calming down, a lot of amino acids out there, and single herbs have been supposedly shown to help you. But how do you know if those are specific to you? And where I work with my patients is usually with some herbal formula that is specific to them, and we combine many different herbs. And you don't have to live on supplements your whole life. Those aren't natural, and they might not be specific to you. And if you're trying them and you're still on them for more than 6 months, are they even working? Probably not. They might not even be specific to you, and they might be causing some other problems in the long run. So starting to address anxiety, you can look at it as another hormonal imbalance. It's a symptom of what is going on in your system hormonally. And so we always look at diet and nutrition. You don't need to be on a specific diet like keto or paleo to really manage all of this. You just really need to understand how food affects your hormones. Food affects all of the chemistry that creates these neurotransmitters and your immune system, so that you can have peace and balance mentally. Food really affects that. So if you don't even know where to start, you got to start with your diet. And if you need help with that, I do have a reset, and I do have other ways that you can tap into that. But please understand that food is a really, really big one. It can fuel inflammation. It can really fuel insulin, cortisol, and disruption. So you really need to address it. Okay, and so you can let me know below. You can let me know below whether you want to, start there. Let me know by saying reset in the comments. And that's a really good way to start. The other way is to look at it holistically. If you want to get off of anxiety medication and boost your other systems, it's going to be a little bit of work with nutrition and other lifestyle approaches, but it's definitely done. My clients usually get off of Xanax and Lexapro in about 2 to 3 weeks, managed with their physician. It is a slower process, but it has been done. And you don't need to live a life of medication when you do have anxiety. It's completely natural when you are in a state of hormonal shifts, whether it's your age or your reproduction has changed, or your reproductive phases have changed. And it's completely common. There's nothing wrong with you mentally or physically. There's just a series of imbalances that can be addressed with holistic means. And if you want more information on that, I actually have created a new masterclass, and you can let me know below, masterclass, and I will definitely send you the link for that. But just know, just as a recap, anxiety and anxiety has hormonal under underlying root causes to it. It's nothing that you did, or you have a mental imbalance, or there's nothing wrong with you. We just may have to look at things hormonally from a larger scale and think progesterone, cortisol, and insulin are your go-tos. And so if you want more information, like I said, I have a free masterclass. You can tap into some of that info there. Just go ahead and let me know below, masterclass, and I'll send you the link. And if you know that you want to address this with nutrition and diet and eat for your hormones and eat for your cycle, go ahead and let me know by letting me know in the comments below, reset, so I can give you more information on that, because you have the complete ability to live in the state of mental peace and harmony and happiness without medication. That'll only just delay more stagnation and more imbalance in the long run. And you can definitely tap into this and overcome anxiety. Take care.